Logging us in for sound checks. Hey, hi everybody. Welcome to the Gamer Sue's Twitch channel. We're just getting ready to start, and I'm logging in to do a quick sound check while my two co-hosts get all logged on. So that's why I've got the starting soon screen on you guys' screen right now. But we're going to do a quick sound check. So check 1 2, check 1 2.
Check one, two.
Check 1 2. I can hear you guys, but you're really quiet. So let me see if I can hear you guys.
That might be on your end.
Yeah, let me turn you guys up on Discord. I can do that individually.
Yep, I am driving through obscenely shitty weather.
Oh yeah.
Just the opposite flat.
There we go. That way you should come through a little bit better. Now let's try that check 1 2 again. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Try that check 1 2.
Check 1 2 3.
Howdy-ho, good neighbor.
Still a little bit far back, but hopefully everybody can hear you. It should automatically mute it a little bit on me when I'm listening to. Let me do the pop out for chat. Put that up while I'm thinking about it, so we can see when Geek Guitar eventually shows up, because he always shows up. And let's go to our 3-host screen. Hey, and there we go. And we don't need to see my Facebook.
Hello.
Good neighbor.
Okay. And so, hey, everybody, we are here with the Game Time Twitch broadcast every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the Ozarks, where we cover anything and everything going on with the nerdosphere around us. We just got back from Geekmas last weekend, and we had a heck of a time there. We raised over $1,100 for Toys for Tots, so that's fantastic. Not to mention doing a couple of really big boxes full of toys that were donated. So that was great. And then there were some individual direct donations to Toys for Tots that are not counted in that. But we raised over $1,100, so that's fantastic. I had a whole lot of good time. Lurch was running electronic gaming. I don't remember seeing Angel this weekend.
So I wanted to be there, but I was in Iowa.
Right.
That entire weekend.
But I was there all weekend. Our booth was there, and we sold a few of our crocheted cosplay items. So it was a lot of fun. Played some board gaming, just a little bit. Board gaming. There was a metaphysical booth. There was a great new performance group I had not seen before called the Slice Girls. I want to put a shout out to the Slice Girls. They were fantastic this weekend. Horror-themed girl cosplay group. They dressed up as the slashers, but female versions of all the slashers. So there was a female Jigsaw and Chucky and Oogie Boogie and a few of the other great ones. There's a female Freddy Krueger and so on. And they went and did a little skit, and they did horror-themed parodies of Christmas carols in their shows. It was a whole lot of fun that was had. And, of course, a shout-out to Podcast Megoria, another Twitch and podcast channel made by our friends. They were there. We had Pop Culture Minefield was there. And, of course, Geekmas is put on by Fanatics and the Fans. Lots of podcasting and Twitch broadcasting and YouTube broadcasting was there at Geekmas. So a good time was had by all. At least I had a good time. Do you have a good time there, Lurch?
Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We did miss you there, Angel, but, you know, we can't make everything all the time. Work has to come first.
It was very unfortunate, because I would have loved to have partaken in some of the shenanigans that happened there. I unfortunately lived vicariously through Lurch for that event.
Right. We had a Hot Wings challenge. We had a pie in the face event kind of thing. We
Oh
had
man,
live
I was
pictures
I
of
was
Santa.
asked I was asked to participate in the Hot Wings challenge, and I said I'm not brave enough for that. And if I was brave enough, I medically wouldn't be able to do that.
I couldn't do it anymore.
Oh, they had a Hot Wings challenge?
Yes, we
Oh.
did. Since my kidney failure and everything, and recently especially, I couldn't do it anymore. But I would have taken it completely just 4 years ago. Just
I have nothing wrong with my kidneys, and I have insulin ready to go, so I should have. Oh man, I can withstand pretty hot shit.
my stomach, I get nauseous now over anything, so I can't handle it anymore. But it used to be I could handle the hottest stuff imaginable. But
Yeah, 700,000 Scoville is the highest Scoville pepper I've ever been able to eat.
oh yeah,
That I've
no.
ever had access to.
Oh no, I've had that spaghetti made with the million Scoville stuff before. Uh, so then you use an eyedropper to put it in the sauce. That's some stuff. Yeah, and I regularly do Dave's Insanity sauce or put ghost. I used to put ghost chilies on my sandwiches or eat raw habaneros and stuff like that.
I think there was a I don't know what Scoville this was. It did feel a little bit hotter than my 700,000, but there was something at gumbo that they applied using a toothpick to stir into the pot.
Oh
And, I think
wow,
it was called like devil's urine or something.
devil's urine. That's a new one on me.
Or like Satan's urine,
Yeah.
something like that. I don't know. I
Sounds
was
like it's
told you had to sign. I was told you had to sign a waiver to buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the ones I used to do, you had to sign a waiver to even be able to purchase and consume. But yeah,
Like Satan's urine, devil's urine, something.
yeah, something like that. That sounds like one of the names they would use. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, and like I said, we also had a live Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus you could take pictures with. Um, so a good time was had. We had a Grinch there for a little while. We had several Deadpools. Uh, Everybody had a good time. Even though population was really kind of down, there wasn't a whole lot of attendees, and that's partly because of the Christmas parade in Nixa. There was several of our vendors were also professionals who played Santa in like other places, so they go play Santa or do Christmas parties and stuff. Uh, and it was their first year being a 3-day event in the convention center. Well,
It sounds like Geek Misses problems might be year round, like every year if that's the case.
Well, some of their problems with that, and some of it is that they just hadn't done it before. I did hear comments that a lot of people said it looked like Game Junior because they used they used our layout pretty much, although they put a few more vendors than we did
I mean,
because they put an extra row.
I think that was kind of by design.
It was because
Hawk said that it worked for game kind of.
Yeah, this is.
He even got as many game staff as he could.
He did. That's what I was about to say. Because he went and got our electronic gaming, which is Lurch. He got their henchman coordinator was Ralphie, and he got Ralphie, and he got a lot of Ralphie to recruit as many henchmen as he could. Our 17-year-old actually henched in electronic gaming, but yeah, it was a lot like Game Junior, except they tried to squeeze a few more vendors in, and we did an extra row of vendors. And considering the population was down, that may not have been as good of an idea. But overall, I thought they did okay, and I think they could build from it if they just learn a couple of things. Maybe not try to pack the vendors in as tightly packed. Maybe and they need to push their gaming area a little bit more because right now it was a little bit dead. But again, first.
I would like to DM at the next one if at all.
Right. That would be good because if we got more games scheduled and the gaming area was a little bit more filled out, it would have felt more full. But it being their
Yeah.
first year at 3 days, first year at a convention center location instead of just the one room thing over at the Creamery. It's their first time really having a big gaming area to do games and stuff. So if we could get that filled in a little bit more, it would become more of a gaming concern, and it could be somewhat of a spiritual successor to game a little bit because it's a lot of the game staff and a lot of even game vendors were coming over. So if we could get a little bit more prep time and everything, it could do better. Yes, some of their problems are still going to be seasonal because of the other competing things, but if we can get more people actually actively playing games, I mean, we had Damian Miller there doing his wargaming like he is at almost every con in the area. So he still had his Mech Warrior slash whatever different wargaming he was doing throughout the weekend. And we tried to get a Call of Cthulhu game going, but we were just a little shy of a couple people needed at least three. We had 2 players in a DM. But we needed like 3 players to really get it to kick off. But it's still, I think it could grow. So a lot of fun was had by all, I think, and I'm looking forward to next year. That's my big thing is I think that it could build from this if they take a few lessons, which is, first years of doing this kind of stuff, you have to grow.
Lurch and I was actually talking about that a couple days ago, where I was like, the it's growing. So like even though attendance was pretty low this year, that was it was also like an entire year at first. So
Yeah.
like
And
so like
after
even if
COVID,
it didn't do as well this year, it chances are next year there's a snowball effect. People hear about it, people do it. He now has like a whole year to like promote the 3-day events and like games not on that docket. So I don't know. He might be
that
filling a void left by game.
that plus this is the first year after people weren't going out for COVID. So this is the first
Yeah,
year
yeah.
people
I,
start
I
going
think it
back
happened
too,
twice. I think it
Yeah.
happened like twice before.
right?
Yeah. This is just all around. It is a rough year for conventions all around because
They're just barely convincing
yeah,
people to go back.
every convention I've known of this year has had much lower numbers than they were expecting.
It is the
Um,
first year where people are considered like COVID's not over, but a lot of people are like, yeah, the lockdown is over, and like people are still being a little hesitant of going out, but
yeah,
also like like people can't really afford it. Uh, Steph and Monica were going to go, and then I mean honestly, they saw a $25 a day charge, which kind of like turned them certainly Steph away from it.
I mean, they could have got in for the whole weekend for 35, but yeah, just Saturday was $25,
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
turned
but
a
that
few
yeah,
people
for
away.
one person, and I'm not saying that's not I'm not saying that that's unfair. My point is like times
Yeah,
are so hard for everybody that that's such a steep price.
right, because they're still getting over the very lean years of COVID.
Yeah,
yeah,
COVID hit a lot of people in the pocketbook. The wallets were hit pretty bad. Anyway, let's
yeah,
uh, let's let's move on because we're going to spend a big part of this show talking about media stuff. So before we go directly into media, we got just a couple of things. So Lurch is going to tell us a little bit about Xbox games.
yeah. So not a whole lot to share, but Microsoft has announced that starting next year they are raising the price for new Xbox games from $60 to $70.
Yeah,
Um,
not unexpected.
yeah, yeah, not really a surprise for most people. Um, it was a surprise to some people, because there's been some people that make a big deal. I guess I'll just like be blunt. Like hardcore like Xbox fanboys, uh, I think are shocked by it because they've been making a big stink for the last couple years about PlayStation prices going up to $70 per game per year, or per year, $70 per game. Um, and a year ago, about a year ago, Xbox promised, or Xbox said that they weren't raising their prices at the time. Um, and I do have to I thought about it a little bit, and people are pointing this out that for this year for 2022, Microsoft hasn't put out any games, their own games anyway, to even bother with having a price increase.
That's probably how
Uh,
they kept from doing it.
yeah, and what's funny is I saw someone I follow on Twitter made a post about that, responding to that, going, people out there that saying that Xbox hasn't put any games for a year. What about these? And he named off four games. He's like Forza Horizon, Halo Infinite, Psychonauts 2, and I forget what the other one was. But every single one of those was 2021 releases. Every he might have mentioned five games, but I checked. Every game he listed were 2021 releases. So it's still true of Xbox not putting anything out in 2022. The guy did not help the case of saying they haven't put out anything in a year. I'm like, yeah, it's really easy to say we're not going to raise our prices this year when you don't release anything this year.
Yeah.
That is true. Um, and honestly, we understood from a game making perspective that the cost to make a game has gone up, but the price of each game has not. And the initial response by the game industry was to put out free to play games that cost money, were paid games that still cost money with microtransactions. And that was how they did it. But the only way to really combat that where it's fair for the consumer for them to get a full product of what they owe is to raise the price of the games.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, it's been an interesting thing. It's not something that was a big surprise to most of us, I don't think, but it's been
No.
an interesting development to see people's response to this. Now, as long as Game Pass stays at the same price, then for the 15% of Xbox owners who are subscribed to Game Pass, this doesn't mean anything, because they still get those same games as part of their Xbox
Yeah.
subscription, unless something changes with their subscription. There are rumors that I don't really care to talk about, but there are rumors about them raising the subscription fees and stuff like that. But none of that's been announced. That's just a rumor. So I like to talk more in the facts and what's been announced in this regard. And as long as the other changes happen, that this $70 price for new Xbox games just further improves the value, I guess, of the Game Pass subscription,
Right.
and could bump that up because they've been stuck at 15% for a while. Xbox owners are not increasing, they're getting more subscribers, but those new subscribers are coming with new Xbox consoles at an attach rate of about 15%, and it has not been budging for a long while. Phil Spencer was talking about that not too long ago. That they think that at least as they are with their current strategy, they've reached their peak percentage of Xbox owners on Game Pass. But their PC Game Pass subscriptions have been going up by a lot.
Good.
Um, this this news may change things a little bit. People might see that news and want to subscribe that wasn't previously subscribed to Game Pass.
True. Okay, you had one other thing that you kind of wanted to just mention about video games about next.
Um, yeah. So this Thursday is going to be the Game Awards. And they're broadcasting it live. I'm going to be watching it this Thursday. And so next week, I wanted to spend a considerable time talking about whatever news and updates and reveals come out of the Game Awards. Because in addition to the Game Awards giving out awards for Best Game of the Year, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about what awards were awarded. Who won between Elden Ring or God of War for Game of the Year, things like that. But the majority of what I'm going to probably want to talk about is the reveals that come out of it.
Yeah, there's always some good new reveals. Yeah.
Me personally, I'm really excited because from the looks of things, I think Hideo Kojima's going to make an appearance because he recently
Nice.
put out a tweet of him hanging out in L.A., which is
Where
where
the
they're
wars
filming.
are? Yeah.
And he's hanging out with Jordan Peele, the horror movie filmmaker. So I mean, Jordan Peele might not have anything to do with it, but he could be his lead.
I am really I am really excited that Jordan Peele is now known for his horror movies as opposed to his comedy skits.
Yeah,
Like,
I love this comedy
it's such
skit.
a drastic. Yeah, but the horror movies are great.
Yeah, he makes some great horror movies. So,
Well, yeah, that
um,
wasn't he the main executive to Nope?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
Nope was his movie.
Yeah, that was an
I haven't,
interesting one.
I
I've
haven't
only
seen that
watched the
one
first
yet,
half
but
of it, but
I'm
it's
going to watch it.
interesting.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to watch it.
I have to finish it. That one
And
looks interesting.
so anyone that's heard me talk about games much probably is aware that I'm a big fan of Hideo Kojima's work.
Oh yeah.
So,
I
and
mainly recognize the name
So
because you
much
say
so
it
that
so
he's
much.
made me a fan of Hideo Kojima.
huh?
I said, yeah, he's such a big fan that his insistence on me playing the games made me a big fan of Hideo.
I mostly know
Also,
the name he mentions
Jeff
so often.
Keighley is the producer, the creator of the Game Awards, and him and Hideo Kojima are close personal friends. So
Right.
Yep.
everything's coming together to look like Kojima's got some kind of an announcement to make at the Game Awards
I
Thursday, and I can't wait.
I mostly know the name only because you mention it so often. uh, anyway, that's looking really good. So that's a little bit of a preview for you guys to know what's coming up next week. In addition, of course, next week will be the season finale of Stargirl. We'll be mentioning that too as definite for next week. But there's more coming. Now, Angel wanted to mention some too. He didn't actually have a link for, but he wanted to mention something.
Oh no.
Oh no, never mind. You figured out you didn't want to.
We talked before
Yeah.
about it. So I was under the understanding that
D&D movie.
the release date for the new D&D movie was not yet released. I don't know why I thought it was due to, but I saw it and I was like, oh shit, like it's got a release date now. So I thought I'd want to talk about it, but apparently it's already been something that we've been aware of.
Well,
So
yeah.
March 31st next year. So,
On the subject of releases, though, March 31st is the D&D movie. They've moved the Flash movie back a week, so it's now supposed to be June 16th. Is supposed to be the release.
I think the word there to use would be they moved it up a week.
Or up.
It's coming out
Yeah.
earlier than it
Moved it
was
up.
to.
Yeah, so they made it sooner. A week sooner. They've given us the release date now for The Flash Season 9. It is going to be in February 8th, I believe is what they said, for Season 9 of The Flash. What else is on the release calendar while we're talking releases and stuff? Oh, I did want to mention, it was pointed out to me by Pop Culture Minefield while we were at Geekmas, a movie that is coming out next year that you're going to want to go out and you're going to want to check out the preview for. It's called Cocaine Bear, and it is Ray Liotta's last movie, and it looked funny as hell. A bear coked up on a whole brick of cocaine that fell out from a drug mule plane into the woods, and so you got this bear totally coked out, and it's one of the apex predators of the forest. When
I first heard the pitch of this movie, the most surprising part was based on a true story.
Hold on, I got one of them promotional spam people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I don't know much details about it. I haven't seen the trailer yet. I think, Doc, you may have been telling me at the convention center at Geekmas I needed to watch the trailer, but I haven't gotten around to it. I'm trying to like unpack things from Geekmas still. Um, like between having to unpack things from Geekmas and clean up the mess that was made from Geekmas, because for those like 3 days, I was just like eating and making a mess and not cleaning up things and just kind of being in exhausted stupor when I'm at the house.
Right.
Left a lot of cleaning and straightening up to do, and I'm trying to like get like shelves dusted as I'm putting my games back on the shelves and things.
Oh, I told. Hey, we even had a scare because one of the henchmen was so exuberant about packing stuff up and taking it out to the trucks. We thought we'd lost 3 of our TVs, 2 of Lurch
Oh my god,
and one of
yeah,
ours,
yeah,
because he got been taking them out to the cars and stuff so fast. He went and took some that he thought were Hawks, which were ours.
yeah, yeah. I stepped out of the room for just a few minutes, after breakdown and everything, and I step back. I come back and 3 TVs are missing, and 2 of them are mine, and one of them was yours, or
Yes,
well, my
related to
mom's.
us.
And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, the TVs that went missing are not Hawks, so I don't think it's Hawk collecting his TVs,
But it
but
was
it was
one of the
Henchman
henchmen.
thinking that all the TVs were Hawks.
Yeah. I don't think he realized that the majority of the TVs are usually yours.
Yeah,
uh,
I think we had 10 TVs, 5 of which I owned.
yeah, so you weren't the majority. You were about half this time.
Yeah, I was half.
But yeah, so it was kind of a scare, but everything worked out okay. So that's good. Anyway, we're going to move on to the media section this week because we're not going to do some of our extra things. I'm not doing a From the Vault this week. I'm not doing a Kickstarter recommendation because this week we've been missing on doing too much. We really wanted to cover some major Wakanda Forever, and so that was something we keep pushing back. And so let's start out with the Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, so this is our spoiler segment of
Yes.
the,
Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers.
yeah.
Yes, we are going to have spoilers in this. So if you do not want to hear spoilers, you've taken too long to see the damn movie. No, you probably want to shut it down and come back when we rebroadcast on YouTube because we are not going to hold back on the spoilers from this point on. And Wakanda Forever, first off, was a touching dedication to Chadwick Boseman, and they had a funeral. Well, first off, they start the movie explaining that Chadwick is sick, and Shuri is trying to find a way to duplicate the herb that gives the Black Panther powers to the Black Panthers, so to use it to strengthen him so that he can fight off the illness, but he ends up passing while she's working on it. So then they have the funeral for Chadwick Boseman at T'Challa. And actually in my theater, I don't know about other people's theaters, but a lot of people were given the Wakanda salute at Chadwick's funeral in honor of him. I thought it was rather touching. And I'm of the opinion that it was a good thing that they didn't recast T'Challa. They instead rewrote the storyline a little bit.
A little bit of a spoiler to the spoiler, but I feel like technically they did.
Well, no, they never recast T'Challa. They did make a new Black Panther.
T'Challa.
But
they made a new T'Challa.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but yes, that's true because at the very end, in the post credit and everything, we get to meet T'Challa's son that we didn't know he had, and his name is also T'Challa. So yes, in a way, we do get T'Challa back at the very end of the movie, but it's not the T'Challa everybody's expecting. You're right there. You're right.
So in a few years' time, we'll have
another T'Challa.
Looks of things. We're gonna have a T'Challa Black Panther in a few years.
If we don't reboot, yeah.
They've proven that they have no problem speeding up
the timeline.
The time that it takes for people to age, because Cassie Lang.
Oh yeah, they have no problem doing timeline adjustments in the Marvel
Well, I mean,
Cinematic
yeah,
Universe.
because of Endgame having a 5-year gap.
Yeah, yeah.
People,
Yeah, but I
They've
mean,
been
like,
doing-
but imagine, if it takes like another 3 years for you to have another Black Panther movie, and like in that universe, if a lot of years have already passed in that universe,
right.
the next Black Panther movie, we could have a young T'Challa learning how to be the Black Panther.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
the teenage T'Challa with
That's
a
all I
little
meant.
bit of mind
Like,
fighting. Yeah,
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. They did quite a bit. It was a little bit more female hero centric this time, which I had no problem with. I thought they did a really good job focusing on Shiri and the rest of the female characters, Ironheart.
Shuri, Riri Williams.
And what's her name from the bodyguard?
Yeah, I do not remember who the general was.
And I can't remember the name of the bodyguard group. Used
Okoye?
the what?
Are you talking about Okoye? I think that's her
Okoye?
name.
Okoye. Yeah.
The Dora Milaje?
Dora Milaje. That's
Okoye,
right. Okoye of the Dora Milaje. Yeah, they were featured nicely, and Okoye was actually even relieved of her duties by the Queen when she lost Shiri, going to go get Riri Williams.
It's funny that you did. Huh?
I was gonna say, did you just pronounce Shuri as Siri?
Shiri is what I.
You said Shiri.
Shiri.
But it's Shuri.
Yeah.
It's Shuri with a U.
And Riri. But it was an interesting show. They showed a bit of the underwater city, which right now the name escapes me. But
I would like to. I think it's like Kulokan. Was the name of the city. I would like to go back a little bit to mention how you mentioned it's a very female centric movie. Even though it was, it didn't feel like that was being pushed on the viewer.
No.
It felt very natural as to the reason why those particular characters were mentioned.
That's right.
In comics, it makes a lot of sense for Riri to be the next Iron Man, like centric character.
Yes.
Because she is extremely intelligent in the comics, and someone that was specifically handpicked by Tony
Yeah.
to start, that kind of like process in the comics even. So that made absolute sense.
Yes.
It was, like the general, with the king, like with T'Challa gone and T'Challa's father gone, and T'Challa not having any known brothers.
No clear successor.
It made and like the rest of the guard is very female centric in Black Panther anyway. I never felt like they were. There was a moment in Endgame where I kind of like rolled my eyes, where it was just like all of the female characters wound up in the same place for a really cool scene. It was amazing, very well shot, but it did kind of feel like it was there just to be like girl power. But I didn't feel that at all in this movie.
Yeah, it wasn't put.
And it felt like the reason why everyone was there, they were meant to be there.
Right. The reason I brought it up though is because one of the main criticisms I've heard about Wakanda Forever from the nerdosphere at large is that the MCU is turning into the MCU and is becoming too female centric. And I didn't actually feel it. I thought everything made sense in Wakanda Forever the way they did it. I thought Riri Williams was fantastic. I thought Shuri was a good spiritual successor to her brother, T'Challa. I thought the Queen, played by the amazing Angela Bassett. I mean, come on, Angela Bassett has been acting forever, and she's just a wonderful actress. And she played the Queen so well. And it just, the whole thing was good. In fact, they also, even though they brought in Namora, they didn't do a heavy focus in Namor. Namor was still the primary antagonist of the movie, so they didn't make it just females over. They made it where it made
I like
sense.
I like how they changed Namor's name from Namor the Submariner to Namor,
Namor, yes.
to be like no more love. Man, that was no love for the land dwellers. It's just like that is such a great fucking
Backstory.
origin story for an
Yeah,
otherwise strange name.
yeah.
What was
There,
what was the name that his people call him? The
Kukulkan.
Coco
Kukulkan.
Khan, which is the plumes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kukulkan. Which is okay. So he's a Mayan god. Everybody is probably familiar with him from his Aztec counterpart, which is
Quetzalcoatl.
No, it's just Quetzalcoatl, the Ellis Island.
Mm.
And yeah, so they're the which is the radiant plumed serpent. And man, when I saw him descending in the water with that fucking helmet on, oh man, he looked amazing.
Oh,
Like that was the moment
the
I knew,
visuals,
like,
the visuals in this movie were stunning. I mean, and you thought the first Black Panther movie had stunning visuals, but this movie went and actually managed to exceed the first one, which was surprising because they worked so hard to bring in the African culture and everything into Wakanda for the first movie, but they went just as hard trying to bring in the South American culture with the Incas, the Mayas, and the Aztecs influences.
It is absolutely amazing. And I feel like because I am direct, I say this all the time because I'm super proud of it.
You're right.
I'm Mexican, and my lineage is directly related with the Mayans. And so I would like to say the fact that they use, instead of Quetzalcoatl, which is much more common version of the god, which is Aztec, Kukulkan is the name they chose to go with.
Which is the Mayan.
Also, the peninsula that they went with was also Mayan territory. So it is almost exclusively Mayan represented, which I'm super fucking proud of. I cannot explain how excited.
But they put influence of Incan and Aztec in there, but they didn't make them featured like they normally do. Normally, especially the Aztecs get all. If you get any South American, it's Aztecs, and it was nice to see the Mayans front and center and faithfully represented.
Definitely, they represented him really well. Like, oh god, this is before the movie, like 2 weeks before the movie. The Lurch and I, we weren't talking expectations. Well, he wasn't. He doesn't like to talk expectations before a movie because he'll be let down. I like to hype myself up with expectations, but I don't go into a movie with expectations.
Right.
Like I draw that line. And when before, like 2 weeks before the movie, I was talking to Lurch. I said, I hope that they represent Namor as the same kind of person who, because in the comics from 2015 onward, they made him a very nuanced character because he was fighting T'Challa for, like the Atlanteans, because he was Atlantic. In the comics, Namor is absolutely Roman.
Right.
He is Roman. His catchphrase is "Imperatus Rex." It's a very Roman phrase to say.
He's very Greco-Roman in origin, yes.
Yeah, so he was supposed to be Atlantis, and it's wonderful. I think it was a great decision to separate him from Aquaman, even though, and I cannot say this enough, Aquaman is a clone of Namor, not the other way around. Namor came out 2 years before Aquaman did.
Mhm. Yeah, and Aquaman, for all of his, he's
only 2 years.
Yeah, it wasn't that far.
That's why and Namor was successful, which is why the thought is Aquaman was directly derived from Namor.
Mm-hmm. And Aquaman was an often underrated hero.
Oh yeah, I agree. Even before the Aquaman movies came out, he was one of my favorite I think he was like probably one of the darker heroes. I think he's even darker than Batman.
Yeah.
You know, like
Well,
the length he's willing to go, like cutting off his own hand. Like whenever I saw that in like Justice League, that fucking got me.
he's more.
You know.
He might be a little bit more self-flagellant than Batman. I don't know about
Yeah, he was.
darker than Batman because Batman can get pretty dark.
So the only real media that portrays Aquaman as kind of a goofball is the Super Friends.
Saturday morning
But
cartoons, yeah.
yeah, almost every single instance other than Super Friends of Aquaman shows a very compelling and interesting character that is not represented well in like TV series.
Well,
Um,
and
I,
Batman Brave and the Bold, which really hammed it
oh
up.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but that one is supposed to be a parody of DC. You know.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, I would like to say that again. I love Batman Brave and the Bold. It's one of my favorite DC series where Batman gets to interact with a whole bunch of different heroes and villains from all over the DC scape. That's great, and it's fantastic for what it is, but you cannot take it seriously.
Yeah.
um, but you know, Aquaman in general is a much darker character than people realize,
Yeah,
and
that's more nuanced. He's a more
yeah,
nuanced
he's
character.
very interesting. And that's what I liked what the new movie Aquaman did with his character.
Yeah, and it
He
makes
did
me
a
look
very
forward to the new Aquaman movie too, the one coming out.
yeah for him specifically.
Mm-hmm. Because
But
it'll be Jason Momoa did a good job, I thought.
yeah, Jason Momoa did a great job as Aquaman. I think he
Yeah.
really revitalized the character.
He did.
Um,
He made him great again. Uh,
he was
because
I gotta say Justice League and Justice League Unlimited did a really good job introducing a very complex character. And the comics, his individual comics are very interesting and like good. In the comics, he kind of falls short compared to other characters, but he's practically as strong as, if not stronger than Wonder Woman. And a lot of people don't realize like the
yeah,
actual value he has. He also does have telekinesis that extends beyond fish.
right.
People don't know that, but he does.
It's
Yeah.
aquatokinesis. It's anything that's native to the waters.
Wait, what
Right.
kinesis? What
So he's
kinesis?
able
I
to.
mean,
I'm sorry.
aquatopathic.
Telepathic ability.
Aquatopathic.
He is
Yeah.
able to, he's able to quote unquote control fish and like talk to fish, but he is able to influence the emotions and actions from weaker willed humans too.
Well, anything that can partly exist in water, and humans uh, can partly exist in water. Yeah.
It's it's actually a lot like fish generally don't have
This
very
is a
intense thoughts.
Wakanda Forever conversation, and we're
Oh,
spending a lot of
no,
time
no,
on
no.
Aquaman.
Sorry. Anyway, so Namor, right. So they changed Namor from being a Roman, a very Roman guy to being, Mayan, which I think makes a lot of sense. Also putting him a little bit closer to America in
Well,
general.
it doesn't, among other things, make it to where the lost. Yeah, I mean, yes, Atlantis is the most famous of the lost cities and stuff, but there are a lot of lost cultures and stuff that they can explore other than just the Greco-Roman lost island of Atlantis. And it was nice for them to decide to go against where everybody else went and make everything from Atlantis, and instead.
I really don't want to like compare the two, right? But the Aquaman, like what Atlantis looks like as a civilization versus what Kuopan looks like as a civilization. And can you please Lurch, can you please fact check to see if I'm saying the name correctly, or because I feel like I'm saying it wrong. But the city that they live in.
What was the name of the underwater city in Wakanda Forever?
And real place.
Yeah, it looks like
Talokan. According to
Talokan.
we now have a new world power to contend with.
Yeah, like
The underwater nation of
that
Talokan.
plays the audio, just like trying to read it,
Yes.
Yeah. but I think you're right. Yeah, Telecon.
Telecon is what came up. Yes, Telecon.
Can you spell it?
Telokn. Telecon is what came up.
Yeah, Telecon.
Yes.
Yep. And so yeah, so I feel like Telecon is a legitimately more interesting and believable society than Atlantis was.
Having
But
every
we also have to remember they have Disney budget.
and
you
everything
know?
focused around the vibranium and everything was kind of neat too because on the surface the only source of vibranium mainly was Wakanda, and then
Yeah.
but you know meteorites and stuff could hit in the water much easier than Earth because 2/3 of the Earth's surface is water. So the chances of stuff being underwater is more likely.
So something about that, something really interesting. Uh, First of all, Mesoamerican religion in general like fascinates me. Like I love the gods and stuff. There's a concept in Mayan, like in the old Mayan culture of dropping your dead into there's what is called Shibaba. So Xibalba is the road to, or Xibalba Bay is the road to the underworld. Xibalba is the underworld. And so whenever there are these little underwater currents that start as like small holes in the peninsula that can carry a body all the way down. And so whenever they contacted the Jaguar god told them to go down into what is it referred to in Mayan as Xibalba Bay, the road to the underworld, to get to the underworld in order to find the kelp that wound up being the plant that was growing using vibranium. And so that was a part of the religion, or like a part of like the Mayan culture that they didn't specifically name out, but I caught in the movie. It was
Well,
amazing.
also, I used to import Peruvian jewelry, which comes from South America, the Machu Picchu area and everything. And the Murano glass that they use in a lot of Peruvian jewelry was originally glass believed to have been formed when meteorites hit the surface and crystallized the silicates into glass. And that's where Murano glass is supposed to originally come from. And so meteorites hitting parts of South America makes sense, you know,
Yeah,
and vibranium comes from meteorites, so
that's true.
it just fits because, like I said, I used to deal in that Murano glass jewelry.
Yeah. So
There,
something I think was some. What was that?
I was just gonna move on to another point. What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say that when it comes to design and the life of uh the Telecons and um their community and how we see them communicating down there, I find an interesting difference between it from how Aquaman handled it. Because in Aquaman, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the time they did some sort of water bending magic to force the water away so they were able to stand on, you know, damp, puddly, but otherwise solid ground in this underwater city. Whereas in this, they were underwater all the time, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It definitely felt like a society down there, not based on magic bubbles.
mhm,
Yeah, that's the thing is, yeah, in the Aquaman world, although the people from Atlantis could breathe underwater, their city was still in an oxygen bubble,
yeah.
and
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 it was like, and I think they had some sort of a thing where they couldn't talk when they were underwater or something like that. Um, but in here, and then like in their architecture, I think it's been a little while. I think the architecture of Aquaman was built with a little bit more of a traditional building on land kind of architecture, just through water on top of it. Whereas
Yeah,
this they took the time to think about how might a culture live if everything was built in like a 3D, you know,
buoyancy system.
world, you know, in a buoyancy system. We weren't having to stack on top of each other. It just kind of grew outward and upward and downward all collectively at the
Like a
same time.
living coral reef. Yeah.
They try to solve several problems. Another problem they solved was how to get light down there in a massive solid vibranium ball,
Yeah.
which provides light down there. Crazy. And
Yeah, they turned it into an artificial sun.
A pseudo sun. Yeah.
and unlike another difference is unlike Wakanda, everybody partook of the flower. No one hoarded the flower for only one bearer.
Right.
Everybody partook of the flower.
Well, among other
Yeah.
things, they needed it because it changed their body chemistry so that they could live underwater. But yeah, it was something that was mutually shared among all. Uh, it wasn't just something that was used to make the distillation for the Black Panther and the
Can
royal
I can
house.
I can I also say how Namor like one of the things the only thing I was fearing was like, oh man, his little wing feet or feet wings are gonna be like kind of goofy, but they weren't. It was like he was swimming through air,
Yeah,
just like stepping on air. It was God, so well done.
they
Yeah.
they took the time to really make it look natural.
Yeah.
It was
I
a
was worried.
legitimate threat.
I was worried that the way his flight was going to work was it would just be like if Superman was flying and they just had the animation of wings on his ankles. But no, his flight patterns were very dependent on how those wings maneuvered. And so him flying looked like him kind of running in air, kind of or like he was ice skating in air, launching himself around.
Like it was running
Uh,
on an air cushion that
it
was generated by
it
the wing.
it looked interesting and also added an element of terrifying to it. you know?
Yeah, they said it's like if the Hulk strength was in like a body. Uh, this is another thing Lurch and I talked about immediately after the movie because we went saw it together. Uh, the thing that I liked a lot was it wasn't like, oh, we gotta beat him, like beating him was extremely difficult. It
Oh,
was like they had to do two things. They had to dry him out in order to lower his in order to
to
reduce his
weaken it,
strength, and
weaken
that wasn't enough. Yeah, they had to weaken him. That wasn't enough. So she also had to boost her strength in order to weaken him, and she still wasn't powerful enough. She was
right.
still losing the fight until she dried him out almost completely using a jet engine, which
She had to
was
desiccate him.
he was still fucking alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to bring him
Like it was a hard.
almost to
Oh,
desiccant
I'm sorry.
levels. Yeah, they almost had to
Yeah,
desiccate his flesh to total dehydration in order to rob him of his strength. And I was going to point that out next if nobody did anyway, because that was one of the things I liked too, is they came up with a really good scientific explanation of how they weakened him.
Yeah.
and like he's gaining oxygen from not only his gills but also through his skin,
A
which
type
is
of
providing a
a
large
type of
amount of strength. Strength that
oxygen
he was
mitosis.
already
Yes.
getting. Yeah, strength he was already getting from being a mutant was also piled on top of the natural strength that Talocons get.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he had gills. I think that was one of their comments is they noticed he's the only one of them who doesn't have gills.
No, but he lived.
Um,
He lived and existed with an oxygen mitosis through his
Yeah,
skin.
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I was saying is
I think, yeah, you're right. He had what they were saying was he had a much more potent way of getting oxygen in his blood.
yeah.
And it concentrated the strength it gave him because of the fact that it came in through the mitosis.
It made so much. I mean, and that would also make sense as to why all of the other Atlanteans are really powerful. Or I'm sorry, not Atlanteans, Teloconians.
Teleconian, yeah.
Conians. And the reason why they're powerful is probably because they have the same function through their skin, and it's so strength and also wings on your feet.
And the ability to breathe regular air still. That was an ability for him because the rest of the telecons couldn't. They had to have a water mask.
The rest of them breathe air through their mouth nose area. There's evidently some sort of a gill-like mechanism to their nose.
Right, but yeah, they're unable to process regular oxygen through their mouths without it being filtered through water somehow. But which means that probably a lot of their cellular mitosis of the water is in their facial region, if you want to think of it that way.
So the other telecons did not get it through their skin like Namor does. They breathe it through their mouth and their nose. There's
then
some
internally,
sort of a nose. That's why they have to have the masks. Namor was special in that he didn't need that because he was able to absorb the oxygen through his skin, which they did not have that.
Right.
So apparently it was an Easter egg of Namor saying there was an Easter egg about that where like him saying I'm a mutant and that's the reason why I'm different. And it's to mirror his comic book counterpart, where his comic book counterpart said, I'm a mutant, and that's why I'm different from the other Atlanteans. And the reason why, and he said that before mutants were ever known, or before he understood what that meant. So, like, mutants weren't called mutants, and mutants weren't technically known in the greater, like during the writing of that comic book. Mutants weren't out yet.
Mutants had not become a comic book thing yet.
So he didn't have the context of what the general society meant or thought mutants meant. He just knew he was different, and that's what he meant by mutant.
Yeah.
Well, he was a mutation.
But he was eventually a mutant. He just was calling himself being self-degenerate as a mutant. And I think that's what's obviously going to be what's going to happen in the MCU. Obviously, that was an Easter egg to show that mutants exist in the MCU.
Yeah, I think so it sounds like they're trying to do in the movie the same thing that they did in the comics, where the oldest living thing to call itself a mutant is, kind of the term of it being started, but then gets proved, scientifically later when X-Men or whoever show up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's such a great fight. I don't think people understand how much of an important moment him calling himself a mutant really is for the greater MCU anymore. And like what that like entails.
Yeah.
Although it is really hard for me to imagine that people all over the world don't know who Namor is anymore due to their final battle. And not only that, but we have evidence that Nick Fury was absolutely aware of them.
Nick Fury knew about the telecom?
In the they had I believe it was the Atlantic. They had a map, like I think like a screen or a radar, and one of the locations listed of potential people with super abilities was listed in the middle of the Atlantic or wherever.
You got to remember, though, Nick Fury kept a lot of things really close to his chest. He's the Marvel secret keeper, man.
Keep in mind is in the local region there was stories, like the people that lived in that part of Mexico, they had stories about the man with winged ankles. You don't think that Nick Fury investigated that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, he's been looking for other superpowered people since the 90s when he met Captain Marvel.
That's my point. Is that Nick Fury absolutely knew he existed.
Mhm. Yeah, evidently didn't see him as an ally though.
Yeah, he did not. If he didn't recruit him as it's probably like
he didn't see it as worthwhile to try to get him. Yeah, the effort to get somebody down there to contact him just wasn't worth it, I guess, at the time. But anyway, we've gone through quite a bit with Wakanda, and I think overall I give, to quote Siskel and Ebert, I give this movie 2 thumbs way up. It is probably one of the best comic book movies that has come out, and that's saying something because the MCU has been doing a great job, but Wakanda Forever is another jewel in their crown.
After Endgame, I have to say that it is tied with Multiverse of Madness for me.
So
That was
this movie. So it's something that's interesting is I've been recently saying people complaining about Phase 4, like Phase 4 is gonna make Disney go broke, blah blah blah. This movie made over $700 million.
yeah.
Which is
Its second week it was over 400 million.
Other movies.
Yeah, there's somebody online trying to complain that it was like the 29th place for comic book movies, and that made it terrible, and that even Sonic 2 did better on its opening weekend. I said, first of all, Sonic 2, don't downgrade it. It was a great movie anyway. 2, Sonic 2 is going to draw in a lot of the younger kids that couldn't get into Wakanda Forever. So, of course, it's going to have bigger box office because the people that take their younger kids are going to take them to see Sonic, not Wakanda.
Yeah.
And but it made up for it over the weeks following, and it quickly jumped to being one of their best grossing movies. It is a great movie, and I don't see anything wrong with it. The only thing wrong with it is I can't go see it again like right now because I want to.
Yeah. It's a general thing that's kind of driving me nuts for people saying that the new phase of Marvel movies is going to make Disney bankrupt because no one's watching them or something. Like, I just pulled up Multiverse of Madness, made $955 million.
Right. These movies are doing just fine.
It came up just shy of $1 billion for its worldwide.
So it turns out Phase 4 is not what's bankrupting Disney. It's not having Bob Iger at the helm.
And well, and being streaming are a big part of it too.
We really, and this is like kind of important to like the future of Marvel movies and Disney content in general. Is they were, I don't know, the news had broke that Bob Iger was recently hired as a temporary new head of Disney because the previous head had secretly been withholding numbers that shows them not doing as well as people were saying and losing a lot of money. And so he had been lying for so long that now they have to bring Bob Iger back to fix the problem.
Oh yeah.
And a big part of it is a lot of companies had put a lot of their focus on streaming services, and streaming services, as great as they are not as profitable as in theater productions. The majority of the profit comes from theaters, so they have to be real cautious when they spend extra money on something they put on stream, because it's the amount of money it brings in overall is just not as good, even if it's a great production.
I don't know. Streaming brings in a lot of money. I mean, if they've got
but an individual offering doesn't do a lot for the overall stream.
I was about to say, if streaming gave, was worth the money, I feel like more movie stars would be more apt to doing streaming movies versus in theater movies.
That's why Scarlett Johansson got. Well, that's why Scarlett Johansson got so up in arms with Disney.
Yeah. Scarlett Johansson was upset because she wasn't making as much
because Black Widow went directly to streaming.
Okay, to be clear, she was upset because her contract didn't include any profits made from the stream.
None of them do.
Money made from the stream, she didn't get any money for. She only got money for the theater stuff.
Yeah.
Until later, they made changes and made everybody happy. But
a lot of the contracts don't
include money from the stream. Streaming is making money, and
it's definitely making money.
But all of the streaming services are reporting that they're losing more than they anticipated because the amount they make is so much lower percentage-wise that relatively than what they make by going to the theaters, and so they have to. That's one of the reasons Disney switching to the special presentations might be a good thing for them because it takes less to make a 45-minute to hour and a half smaller presentation than it takes to make a feature-length movie. And if they send those things to streaming instead, it's more cost-effective for them.
I have to say that seems more like a holiday special kind of thing. Because like one was for Halloween and one is for like Christmas.
That's part of what they do, but
like,
they're
it
doing
doesn't feel
some
like
others.
they're doing it as a money making or saving venture so much as other companies do that kind of thing.
Well, they are going to. They're going to do it because they're talking about doing less series too, and switching some of the ideas for series into special presentations because they really don't need a 6 to 9 episode run when they can do it in 1 to 2 special presentations.
I know Disney is hemorrhaging money. That's the only thing I know for sure. I don't know how much more streaming is giving or less that streaming is giving versus being shown in theaters. I would like to see. I am very controversial. I would like to see theaters being more of a thing that people go to if they want an experience and not specifically the only place you can watch movies. Personally, I would be okay.
I know that.
Let's go back just a smidge on these numbers, right? How much is a Disney Plus subscription? $8, $10?
No, I got my bundles with Hulu.
I can tell you what my last charge was. Just a second.
So currently Disney Plus has 164 million subscribers. Even at $8 a month, that's $1.3 billion a month. These like, I don't know how the streaming services are responsible for them hemorrhaging money when they make 1.3 billion revenue a month.
Well, I was not blaming the streaming service. I was saying that I never did. I was saying that the previous head, and I forget what he's called. He is that memorable. But I know what Bob Iger's name is. And they had to bring Bob Iger back because Disney is hemorrhaging money.
I know that Disney, Paramount, Peacock, and a couple others are all hemorrhaging money on their streaming services right now. And even HBO Max is not making what they were expected to make. Right now, the only ones that are really still making decent money is, Netflix. And even Netflix is losing compared to what they were making. So
they're making less in massive hand over fist profits.
Right. They're making less. Netflix is making less, but Paramount is actually reporting it.
The last time I looked into it, they were still by far making the most amount of money. They were just not making,
Right.
They lost a few million subscribers, yes, but that was like 2% total of their revenue. Like they lost like 2%.
But other streaming services are reporting that they're not making the money that they need to make to keep it up.
A month, 2%.
But the thing is, a single movie in the theaters could make $1 billion in a month of movie revenues.
It's possible, but it's rare. Like okay, Marvel's put out 4 movies in a year, and each of those movies is making around $700 to $800 million. Typically, that is, even if that's all 4 movies combined, you're looking at a little over $3 billion, maybe $3.5 billion, and they make that same amount in 2 months of subscription service fees.
Let's see.
And that's continuous. That's not just the offshoot movies that do really, really well.
Yeah. Well, something else is like we're looking at specifically Marvel, but Disney puts out a lot more movies than just Marvel.
Yeah.
But they're not doing Marvel well.
Yeah, Marvel is the exception. Like very few movies make over $1 billion. I think there's only been like 8 movies that ever hit $1 billion, and 5 of them I think are Marvel.
Yeah, Disney is not. I don't know how Disney is hemorrhaging money, but apparently it is. I do believe it might be a sudden surge in new productions all at once.
Yeah.
and them hiding the you know the immediate cost of how much that was. I don't know. I do not have the specifics in front of me,
Yeah.
but I don't know if either of you even heard of this news. But yeah, that's something that occurred. Like,
I've heard about it, but I haven't had time to like look much into it. Um, hopefully he doesn't cause them, because I mean, people want to blame, people that want to act like, I mean, I just saw today someone I personally know, someone that was at Geekmas, I think. I know they were at Game. They might have been at Geekmas. Either way, someone that I personally know in the geek community is upset about how so many Marvel properties are putting so much attention on female characters, and he tried to say that boys will only buy boy toys and girls will buy boy toys too, but boys will never buy girl toys, and that's why Marvel needs to focus more on male characters instead of making girl movies or girl characters or whatever like that. And I was like, that.
I you know Black Panther didn't ever even like while I was watching. I never once thought, oh, they're forcing women on me.
Yeah,
No, everything that they put inside of that movie did not feel forced.
yeah,
And better yet, it was like most of the time whenever it's like girls versus girls like that in game scene, it was girls versus girls. This was very clearly the head of a country is fighting the other head of another country. Like
Yeah.
it's so different. Like it's so extreme that that to me gender never even played a role in that engagement.
yeah,
It's just like they've gone beyond their gender and have now settled in, oh shit, our monarch just died.
yeah. Now,
And
the one complaint I do have one little complaint about Wakanda Forever, and it's something that could be explained away, and maybe it has been, and I just don't remember a detail somewhere. But I don't recall Shuri ever being a combat badass.
She wasn't
yes,
really. I mean,
during the
she had a
yeah
she had that
during
limited
during
period.
oh I'm sorry during Infinity War whenever they were all protecting Wakanda, she had uh she was on the fighting. In fact, I think in the very first Black Panther they mentioned that everybody gets combat.
Oh, she did have those like weird arm cannon things, didn't she? And she was like jump down and firing like Mega Man blasts at people.
Looks
Yeah,
like
Cause like I was trying to remember
every woman gets or every human gets combat training in Wakanda.
every Wakandan citizen gets combat training. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just I was trying to think about. I was like, did she? Because I was like, she spends so much time in a science lab doing all this super sciencey stuff. I kind of would have preferred, personally, I would have preferred the the mother of T'Challa's child to be the new Black Panther. That's what I was hoping for when we were getting this new movie. I mean, the
I
movie did a
agree.
good job with things, but that's what I was hoping for.
I
Um,
agree. It does not make a ton of sense for Shuri to be. But then again, Shuri also seems to be the kind of person who doesn't want to be interrupted by science, so she might generate a new flower for someone else. It really doesn't feel like with the ending of Black Panther 2, it just did not feel like the intention was she's forever the Black Panther. I
yeah,
think she was the Black Panther to get what she wanted.
yeah, yeah. I think you're right, and now she knows how to make them. So I think you're right, and I suspect that she's going to want to pass that mantle on to this new T'Challa as soon as he is like old enough and he's ready to do it. I see
Yeah.
her wanting to get back to her focus of science.
Aside from introducing him, for the obvious reason to introduce him, I think that the reason why they had it done in that very specific way was so that Shuri would recognize that he even existed, so that entering the next calamity, whenever he's grown up sufficiently, she could seek him out without people wondering where he came from.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't think she. I think you're right. I think you're right in assuming she's not the kind of person who would be a Black Panther, and I think that was Disney's intention to show you that she's not.
yeah.
Well,
start getting past your grief and doing what she needs to do as the queen of the country now.
just
But
No, she passed the queen of the country to the leader of the bear clan or the monkey or the gorilla clan.
yeah.
I don't. Well, it was left up for a challenge. I don't. I think.
No. They previously agreed. Because like he came down and was like, Shuri's not going to be here today. She's doing something else. But I challenged her for the role of leadership, and she didn't show up, which makes him automatically leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless someone else challenges him, I think.
Yeah.
Just so you guys
I think he has to be king for somebody to challenge him first.
Maybe.
But yeah, I mean, he is definitely because she like that kind of like goes with who Shuri is. She doesn't care about ruling. She doesn't care about being Black Panther. She just cares about her work.
Yeah.
And she'll do anything she needs to pass that along. And I kind of saw during the movie my thought process was two things whenever they had him constantly showing up. The two things were either he's going to die after all of this character development or he's going to become king.
I was sure he was going to die. Okay, the movie overall was great. My favorite moment, it's a little kooky, but my favorite moment in the movie was when M'Baku was having his little spiel telling people, he's like, did you hear what his people called him? They didn't call him king. They didn't call him, chief or captain or general. They called him, Kukulkan. Do you know what that means? It means the serpent god. They think of him as a god. And then, people were kind of giving him a look. He's like, what, you think I live in the mountains? We don't have books? But, that line was great, but that whole little, thing of him pointing out how his people don't just see him as their ruler. He sees them as they see him as a god, as their god. And I also think he's the one who said, how do we fight a man as strong as Hulk but can fly?
No. Just
Doc looks like he's researching something.
just to get back to what we were talking about, the gross for Disney in theaters just for 2022 for all 9 of the top movies that they did that have actually had money in 2022 in theaters, it's only been $1.3 billion gross. And that even includes the Eternals from 2021 for their 2022 box office.
That doesn't make sense.
But it's only the top 9 movies. Because at the time of this is domestic.
Okay, domestic only.
This is domestic only.
I was gonna say, Doctor Strange made $900 million, and
Yeah.
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever made $700 million.
Right.
Those two movies alone was $1.6 billion.
Yeah, domestic here. This is gross.
No, I'm saying those numbers that Lurch is there
on net.
There's a lot of that money is going elsewhere too.
Right. I'm looking though for
giving out his gross numbers.
The gross numbers for Doctor Strange here.
Yeah, it's gross. That's before all of that money is taken out. Like the final money that Disney is getting from that movie is going to be less than that.
Right. But for instance,
it's just like your paycheck. You have a gross paycheck.
Yeah,
and then your net paycheck.
You have your net paycheck.
I think everyone understands what that means.
Yeah. Because the gross for Doctor Strange
everyone old enough to have a job anyway.
The gross for Doctor Strange here domestically is $411 million. Mm-hmm. And the gross for Wakanda is just slightly less at $394 million. And then after that is Thor: Love and Thunder at $343 million. So they've done, but Eternals, which released in November of last year, still did 175,000 in 2022, and they weren't open very long in 2022 at all. Yeah. And that was their last couple of weeks in theaters. So they didn't even do bad.
mean, I like to look at their global because that's a better number to see
Right.
how much
I went
they made.
to the numbers.com
Um,
because they do a lot of the
but
aggregate numbers.
like Eternals domestically, Eternals did 164 million, and globally they did 400 million.
In the year.
So
Yeah.
I guess we need to take into account how much it costs to make the film,
That's the
and
other thing.
not only that, but how much royalties needed to be paid outside of Disney,
Right.
and
Because they have to pay.
we gotta take that number. And we
They
can
got to.
take that number and be like, yeah, what's the net that
Well, okay, so here's well, I think part of why we were talking about how much money the movies were making in the Phase 4 was comparing it to what they were making in the first 3 phases, because people were saying that Marvel isn't
Yeah.
making any money off
When
these
you
new movies because
compare,
people aren't
yeah,
watching them. When people are watching them about the same amount as they were watching the other movies, with the exception of like the Endgame and Infinity War.
Yeah, I was thinking we were talking about the fact that Disney is losing money or was losing money.
Yeah. If Disney's losing money, it's not because of ticket sales for Marvel movies. It's because of something else. Maybe it's other Disney movies that we're not keeping track of. Maybe it's someone embezzling hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know.
It might be mismanagement of funds or producing too many movies all at once. All of those could be losing the money.
So.
Well, in subscription revenue for Disney Plus, I just looked up, they're almost to $4 billion in subscription revenue for the year of 2022. They're not even at 4 million yet. And that's for the whole year in subscription revenues.
According to new report, 4 billion in U.S. is on track to surpass 4 billion.
On track to, which means it hasn't reached 4 billion yet.
Okay, so is that for a year or is that for a month?
No, that's the year.
Their total number of subscribers, which suggests that they are making like 3 billion a month.
Well, my subscription rate was $7.99 for the month. And how many subscribers did you have listed?
Now, if they're talking about making it, that might be another situation of is that gross or is that after everything's taken out? Because actors and producers and directors still get money from Disney Plus as well.
Yeah. Like if you're talking like per minute of footage or whatever per episode, they're not gonna make as much money from a show, I don't think, as they do from movies or like shows are different because it's if you have a show that's releasing every week for 2 months, then you're getting 2 months of subscription fees from that show if people are sticking around for the show.
The other thing you got to think of is when something goes to streaming early, they lose out on revenues when selling it on DVD and CD and everything too, because it's going to the stream. People are just going to watch it on stream, and that's a big part of their revenue.
Yeah, but I think the streams are generally more profitable than the DVD sales.
Yeah, I do believe that the Pokemon company makes more money than Disney does, and I don't think that they're making like 20 billion a year. So I don't think that Disney is making as much money as you think they are.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, Disney, all of the streaming services are reporting that they're hemorrhaging funds right now. Except Netflix is the only one not directly reporting it because they're just making such a huge market share. And Disney's the second highest market share when it comes to stream right now. But yet they're hemorrhaging funds. They're actually even contemplating closing down their streaming service because of the fact of the profitability. But they're hoping that some of their current recent changes might turn that around, because of the fact they're spending so much to make their content. And they're not selling their content to Netflix as much, which is another thing that hurts them.
Only
Because
the first quarter, if I'm reading this right, Disney Plus made $21.8 billion in the first 3 months of 2022, or the last 3 months of 2021.
That might be, but in 2022 they're looking at just subscriptions. Remember, that was just subscriptions I was looking at. They're not counting anything else because they're starting to bring in the Disney advertising tier too. But the subscriptions, they're about to break 4 billion. They haven't yet. They're on track to.
No. Subscriptions can't be 4 billion. Over half of the population of Earth is not subscribed to Disney Plus.
No, $4 billion.
Okay.
Dollars. Each subscription is $7. Each subscription is $7, but they're looking at. Then it's probably
they have like 160 million subscribers, and if they're paying even $4 a month, that's $500 million a month.
I don't know, but you got to look at net, not gross, and that they don't always report all of that either.
That is actually true. That's the more important number.
And they don't like to give that out to everybody.
They almost never share nets. I mean, we're lucky when we're able to find grosses.
No. So when they say that they're almost to the 4 billion mark for the year for subscriber, they're probably talking net, which means however much of that $8 a month that they're getting from each customer, that is considered profit.
Yeah. Which 4 billion is a pretty good profit.
It's a pretty good profit, but when you talk about
if
that
a company's profit starts with a letter B, I'm not going to shed any tears.
No, we're not shedding tears, but we're comparing the profits to their theater release profits, where their net for a single movie compared to that one movie's effect on their stream is the thing, because they have a whole lot more money going out for all the individual things going to the stream.
Okay, so, and a lot of that is because the difference between how a movie works and a show works. A movie will buy people. A movie might get one subscription for that month.
Right.
Whereas a TV show that extends across 2 months is going to get you a couple of months of subscriptions out of people. And also, when you're thinking about ticket sales at like $15 per person versus $8 per month, pound for pound, minute by minute, a movie is significantly more profitable than a show that you put on a subscription service.
And that's their point.
But, I mean, Disney Plus puts out 1 to 2 episodes of something a week, depending on the week. There actually was a time where for like
they pretty much
straight we won't get something, but
they pretty much put something new out every week, but it's not always their main category.
What I'm saying is we get like an episode or 2 episodes of something that we watch. They do put other content that we don't watch on there.
Because they've, like, just this week, they put out episodes of the Santa Claus TV series, the Mysterious Benedict Society.
My wife, not my sister. Oh, I do know. My sister loves the Santa Claus, but
the Santa Claus is great.
Santa Claus.
Oh, it's great.
And so she's like super excited about.
But you think just this week for sure? We know that we got the Benedict Society, we got the Santa Claus, we got Willow, we got a couple of other things for sure.
Yeah.
Disney.
I really do. We had a lot of like announcements of a lot of TV shows and movies being announced for Marvel. Just Marvel, not counting all of the Star Wars stuff, not counting all of this stuff. All of that, I believe that is probably one of the biggest factors for the shareholders of Disney to freak out enough to replace the head of Disney with Bob Iger again, because I do believe that the previous head of Disney ordered so many or allowed so many shows to be ordered, to be produced, all at once, all coming out around the same time period, that's a huge dip in profits immediately because now they have to fund all of that immediately.
Yeah, and in a streaming service, they'd have been better off staggering them more. But that head of the company was not doing it
gets
right.
a little sketchy because if you stagger them, I mean, you got to be careful how far you stagger them before they start to lose money again.
Well, you want overlap.
I was excited. We all have to keep in mind. There was a time in like not that long ago where I was fucking excited to see 2 Marvel Disney movies a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just fucking stoked with that. And then we got one from Sony every once in a while, like one from Fox every once in a while. So like, you know, those were less in between. And I was just like 4 movies. I remember talking about we went and saw a movie. We went and saw a movie during this time period, Lurch, together. And I remember talking to you. I said, wow, 4 Marvel movies in a year. I don't think I could keep up with that. Whenever I was looking at the Sony movie and the fucking, or maybe it was 2 Fox movies and like 2 Disney movies, and it was just like, I think it was during the time of either the beginning of the Phase 3 or at the end of Phase 3.
A lot of the time during Phase 3, they were putting on a heck of a lot more movies than you were used to the phases before. Phase 3, when they really started to churn them out.
I honestly don't think that we're gonna be hurt if they have one or 2 Disney Plus shows for Marvel specifically in 2 movies from Marvel. I wouldn't be hurt.
And they have to restructure things and see what they can handle.
I mean, that's already what we got, and we lived through it just fine.
Right. But the thing is, the streaming services are reporting that they're hemorrhaging money. Now, of course, it could be like how it could also be like how Hasbro has unreasonable expectations for their sub companies because one part of the company performs really well. They think all parts of the company should report that well. You know, like Dungeons and Dragons is never going to report the sales that Magic is reporting, but they expected it. So you got to look at some of this with a grain of salt. The streaming services are going in with certain target expectations, and if they don't meet those targets, to them, they're going to report their hemorrhaging money because they're not making their sales goals, even if they're still making a profit. To us, they're going to be whining that they're not making their goals. So that's another thing we always have to keep with a grain of salt when we're hearing these reports, is just because Disney says they're hemorrhaging money, it doesn't mean that they're actually losing money. It just means they may not be making their goals. And that's the thing.
To completely replace the head of Disney.
Yes. Yeah, they'll make business decisions. They make their business decisions based on their interim goal seek numbers. It has nothing to do with us. It has to do with their number expectations, is how they'll make their business level decisions.
I like, of course, Marvel Disney movies, and I'd love to see them all of the time. But
it doesn't mean that it's.
Tell a better story.
So
yeah.
I mean, I could see a really good argument to be made that the Marvel and Star Wars movies might be the main thing keeping Disney movies afloat.
It's definitely one of the.
They are consistently making big
Marvel
in tickets.
Well, and Marvel Animation makes a lot of money. Marvel Animation actually makes a buckets of money, comparatively speaking, too.
Marvel Animation. What has Marvel done?
I mean, not Marvel, Disney Animation. Disney Animation Studios.
I gotta be right back. I gotta use the restroom. I've been holding out for like an hour. I can't
we got 30 minutes left on the show. We wanted to talk at least a little bit about Wednesday, Willow, and we were going to push Stargirl till next week and just cover the last 2 episodes at once. So we're really not covering Stargirl this week. because we would just want to do the last two episodes all together, because we knew we were kind of going to spend a lot of time on Wakanda and stuff this week. But we did want to cover at least the first couple of episodes of Wednesday and the first couple of episodes of Willow. Because
we can only cover the first couple of episodes of Willow.
Yeah, we could totally cover the first episodes of Willow, and it was fantastic.
No.
I thought.
Oh no! I mean, there's only been a couple that came out, so we can only cover those.
Yeah, we can cover because Willow is coming out on Disney, which means we're getting it the first two and then one a week. Where Wednesday came out on Netflix, which means you get the whole enchilada all at once.
I would honestly, I think we brought pretty much enough time to talk all just finish off Wednesday today.
Well, start and finish, because we really didn't do much of Wednesday last week. So
that's what I meant. Is like we could finish off Wednesday today.
And that's probably what we. Well, we have 30 minutes. Well, 25 minutes plus we go over a little bit. Lurch is going to want to be part of it, but we can go into Wednesday now while we're waiting for Lurch. And First off, I did think that they did a great job on Wednesday. First off, Alfred Go and Millar being the writers was fantastic, considering what all Millar's done. And I think I talked about that last week when we briefly mentioned it. We've moved on to Wednesday, and we've decided between me and Angel, we've kind of decided to just kind of focus on just doing all of Wednesday since it all came out for the last half hour of our show. We'll move Stargirl till next week, like we talked about last week, and just do the last two episodes together. And
so they didn't do what I was hoping. What I was hoping they wouldn't do. Which was turn it into a kind of a Riverdale drama. That didn't fucking happen.
Let me finish up getting Lurch real quick.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were finished. I'm sorry.
No, and we're going to push off Willow till next week too. That way we make sure we have the 25 or 30 minutes for Wednesday.
We did just spend about 40 minutes talking about how many billions of dollars Disney made versus how many billions of dollars.
We spent over an hour on Wakanda Forever and all of the side topics that came with it. So we're going to focus the whole rest of the show on Wednesday and push the others off till next week.
So they didn't turn Wednesday into a CW drama, which was fucking amazing. Wednesday never once corrupted her ideals.
Oh no, she was great.
And I don't know if you guys noticed, one of my favorite things about Wednesday was in order to create kind of an unnerving look to her, you never see her blink.
No, she never blinks. She's always in relative black and white. She's no, there's no color. I mean, even that little bit of blood on her when she gets nicked in the fencing match was that startling because it was against her pale skin and everything. This is really where Tim Burton shines, is this kind of movie, when it's this kind of darkness and noir type of feel. Tim Burton, I think he should stick to this kind of stuff because this is the stuff where he shines the most. And Wednesday was a perfect palette for him to work with. And then getting writers like Go and Millar to be behind it as well. And then Jenna Ortega that played Wednesday, I really think was stunning in the role.
I feel like the one thing that they didn't acknowledge, or I don't know if it's still a thing, is that I don't know if you guys know why, aside from her being weird that she was sent to a school full of abnormal and paranormal people, she actually has a curse that was cursed on the whole Gomez family, or the whole Addams family. Not Gomez, the whole Addams family. The whole Addams family was cursed to be immortal. Right, that their family would always exist, and they can't like if an Addams like the Addams can't be killed. Through some wacky interference occurs that prevents them from dying, and that is a canon thing in the comics. Now, I don't know.
I mean, members of the Addams family do die. They have a graveyard in their
but they come back.
I mean, since the thing. In fact, there's been lots of gags and like
Well,
instances where she uses her brother for target practice or blows him up with a
Right.
bomb or and
but
those are played for gags, but canonically they are
well, you
there's a curse.
you also have to think Charles Adams.
Hold on. The point. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Let me finish the point because I got a little bit off track. The whole point of me bringing it up is I don't know if that exists in this series.
Well, you also got to remember that a lot of things that people think of as canonical for the Adams was not introduced by Charles Adams in the original comic strip. In fact, some of the most beloved characters never even showed up in the comic strip, or only showed up once or twice and were never named, like Cousin It. You know,
Yeah.
they came about later on when they brought out the TV series and then later on the movies. But there is no 100% canonical Adams because Charles Adams was very vague in his comic strip, which is what it's all based on. You know, the first Adams comics showed up in the New Yorker back in, what was it, the 50s and 60s, when Charles Adams first started doing the Adams Family, and a lot of the characters were not even really necessarily named, and they changed from week to week when it came out. So there is no 100% canon when it comes to the Adams Family.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some evidence of this curse, but so far it's just fan theories.
It's a lot of it is
On
fan developed canon. It's not true
yeah,
canon. That's the
yeah,
thing about Charles Adams' work is it was so impactful to the people that watched
Well,
it that the rumors and stuff that followed it all became
it's
treated like
there.
canon.
As far as I can tell, they're as immortal as the Three Stooges. They can take any amount of
uh,
punishment, just it's more dark based.
the a part of it I think was a part of the curse being like talked into was it was mentioned in one of the movies as well as being the reason. But that's what I kind of like trying to say is like I don't think that that's like a
It's not a
uh
universal.
yeah universal thing. And so
Yeah,
but
because there is no true Adams canon. The only Adams canon right now they finally have established that everybody agrees on is
yeah
four members of the
there was a
family.
throwaway line in the movie in one of the I think it was the 90s where Gomez was like it's the Adams family curse. And like that was just his explanation for how they survived or something like
Right,
that.
but they
I
never
don't think I
detailed
don't
what
think
the
it has
curse
to. I
was.
think it had something to do with them going missing or something like that. It's been a long time,
Right,
but
yeah.
There was an instance in the movie where Uncle
Fester?
Chester like exploded in a house set by like a woman that he married who wants to kill him for his money,
yeah.
and the house
That's
He
exploded
also
Adam's
like
family
survived a
values.
similar explosion.
That was Adam's family values.
well, yeah, but at that point, she was an Adam.
I guess.
Yeah, and that was
So
Joan
yeah, no,
that.
like it's just a slapstick
That was.
business. Usually when people talk about the Adams Family curse, they're talking about like actors working on the show
Hmm.
having something going wrong.
But yeah, you're
Yeah.
talking about when Gomez was explaining why Debbie survived after the one scene in Adam's Family Values, played by Joan Cusack, right? Um, I'm an Adams Family fanatic, and I know a lot of the so-called Adams canon were all fan-created canons. That's the thing because
Isn't every writer who writes an Adams Family movie just a fan?
that
Yeah.
too.
Like
But a lot of the
that's
canon,
like
And
creating
also
canon.
and also keeping in mind that, the Adams family have a family tree that has, witches and things. So like individual members may be cursed with this thing or another or whatever throughout the years.
Uh,
But
can I
but
can I oh sorry I'm so sorry I interrupted you.
but
There's a disconnect from my phone.
sure, but I was just gonna say, but the general concept of them not dying to their shenanigans, as far as I've seen from the shows I've watched, which and all the movies I've watched, and the comic strips I've read, there's never been an explanation for their impossibility of killing, almost,
So
attributed
I
to
would like
some kind
to
of a curse.
I would like to move past it because we only got like 15
Yeah,
minutes. Can I say
I
that
mean,
Thing was a still shower or a show stealer?
Thing is pretty great.
Thing has always been great. I mean, I think he's a lot of people's favorite character in the Adams uh, lexicon.
Uh,
He,
mine has to be mine does kind of have to be oh, I'm
Fester,
so sorry. The you mean like their whole canon previously of people introduced?
their lexicon of
Uh,
actual family members,
I mean,
recurring family members.
canonically speaking, as canonical as you can be about the Adams family, the kid from the Adams Family Values, the second movie
Oh,
from the '90s,
Hubert,
that kid died because Pugsley ate him.
right? That yeah, Pubert was supposedly eaten by his older brother. Yes,
Yeah,
I've heard that one. Uh,
that's from the Adams Family TV series that came out after the movies. Like the follow up that came out later.
the
There was an
revived.
episode where
The,
someone from the government came to the house because they were upset about the Adams Family kids not being in school, and he's like, "There seems to be a third child here," and then blah blah blah. He's like, "Yeah, but Pugsley ate him."
yeah,
remember
but
that.
yeah, of the
Uh,
canonical members of the family, nowadays, you have Morticia Gomez, Wednesday, Pugsley, Fester, and Cousin It, and Thing, and Lurch. And that's it for canonical members of the lexicon. And then everything else is depending on the individual project. but
Right.
those are the canonical members of the family.
So so ignoring all the other past stuff because this is a self-contained show
yeah,
about the
I was
Wednesday.
trying to yeah. Sorry, go on.
Um, I really enjoyed the show a lot. The only thing I didn't care for was Uncle Fester. I didn't like the Uncle Fester of the
You
show.
know, my
Uh,
girlfriend Allison didn't like him either.
I don't. I didn't mind him. The one thing I did kind of like that they did, because yeah, he was kind of like out there and almost didn't fit the show. But the one thing I did like is that they took the light bulb gag and made it so that he just had straight up
Electrical powers, yeah.
electromagnetic.
Yeah.
I like
So
that. But I mean, you got to look at also when you're looking at somebody like Uncle Fester. Christopher Lloyd played Uncle Fester, and that's a hard act to follow. I mean, Christopher
I
Lloyd
mean,
does so good when he
I
does
don't. I
come into
don't.
these nerdy
I
movies.
it was. I don't. I feel like. Well, one, his introduction is strange because he doesn't almost fit the it,
yeah.
the atmosphere.
This is at minimum the fifth Uncle Fester I've seen. The fifth actor I've seen play Uncle Fester, and was the only Uncle Fester I didn't like.
Right. Uh,
Christopher Lloyd's my personal favorite.
Yo,
You
absolutely.
expound on why you didn't like him?
You know,
I feel like it was poorly cast. I don't think it was a good casting for the role.
my girlfriend
Um,
couldn't put her finger on it. She was like, it just didn't feel right.
yeah. So
Uh,
like Fester, he usually um like I didn't like one thing I didn't like about him, and then this is from the writing and not the casting. I didn't like this idea that he was a bank robber that was on the run from the law. Like that didn't feel like Uncle Fester. Uncle Fester, he's kooky and likes to play with explosives and stuff like that. But I never thought of,
I
I don't
I
remember him
I
anywhere being a thief.
so so
They
so
mentioned
so
it before.
I didn't get that he was being like I don't I during the one thing that I would say about Uncle Fester is that he does whatever he feels like and then has to deal with the consequences. Is constantly a character arc and literally everything. He got married on a whim. He owned a house on a whim. He robbed a bank on a whim.
And that
I think that
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't get the impression that he was just a notorious bank robber. I got the impression he just did it on a whim.
I get the impression on this show anyway that he is like a traveling bank robber. That like that's like his profession, and I'm like, he's the wealthiest member of the Addams family, and he's just going out and robbing banks.
Yeah, well,
Um,
especially if you think of the
And
canon
I
from
kind
the
of felt
movie.
that way too. I felt like the only reason why he would rob a bank is because he felt like doing it.
yeah,
And that's kind of the impression I did get from the series. I didn't get that he was just a professional bank robber. Although
yeah,
I think what they were trying to achieve was showing that he's a man of many talents, such as like doing jobs with things, or which the other job wasn't breaking into a bank. It was breaking into a museum to leave something there. And so
yeah,
it was like different. So it felt more like he's adventurous and willing to do different stuff versus him just straight up being a bank robber.
yeah. But then, like the performance of him, just he just kind of screwed up. You know, it's
I
like,
agree. I agree. He didn't fit the scene, did he?
no.
Now there was something about that just rubbed a few people wrong, I think. The other
And
thing
again, I have a friend who thought he was the best part of the show too. So
I thought I was gratified because at one point one of the rumor mills had it that Christina Ricci's character was going to be a female version of Uncle Fester, and that didn't happen, and I was glad that didn't happen because it just didn't sound like something that would totally fit. In fact, I love what they did with Christina Ricci by making her the one quote unquote normie teacher at Nevermore.
yeah,
I'm gonna say something very controversial. I think Goose Moss made an amazing
Okay,
Gomez.
looks wise, I didn't like it, but he acted it well, I thought.
I no looks wise, he was a short, fat, awkward looking
True, he
man,
did.
and
He fit
that's how
the
Gomez is
comic
supposed.
strip better than anybody
That's how
before him.
Gomez is supposed. That's how Gomez is supposed to. I couldn't hear you. So sorry.
He
That's
fit.
how Gomez is supposed to look. Is short, fat, and weird looking.
Yeah, the comic strip wise, he was probably the closest to the comic strip Gomez of anybody from the original Charles Adams comic strip.
there's no probably about it. It was absolutely.
But
Yeah.
everybody got used to Raul Julia and the black and white TV series,
I
and
I of all of the Gomez's, he's probably my favorite, and I know that's probably going to be
but
a
I
very
thought he
controversial
acted
thing,
it
but I
well.
really liked him.
I really thought he acted it well
What's interesting is like every animated version of Gomez looks like that Gomez. Like the
because they
one
based it on the comic
there was
strip.
an animated series from the '90s that had that kind of a style for Gomez, only I think a little paler in skin. And then the 20 what year was that? The 2019 Adams Family animated movie had the classic design for Gomez,
Because they
and
based him on the original Charles Adams comic strip.
yeah, they all fit in with the old comic strips. The only ones that we see of him being this tall, kind of swinky
Latin lover
person is the live action movies, or
and
the
TV
live
series.
action versions of Gomez. And
Right.
I'm personally am happy to see them because I think it's not just for the sakes of being like the original comics. I like it because it shows you that the Morticia is not in love with Gomez for his suave good looks, is for his suave personality.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah, and he
Morticia Gomez
and
love is the
Goose
love
Moss
of the
did that
ages.
fucking amazingly.
I
Yeah,
thought
Just a
I
good
thought
performance and a good actor, and is honestly, I think he was probably one of my favorite things about that show
and
was him, and I have to say I really enjoyed the peppiness and the color that her roommate brought to everybody
and
else.
then if anything, the one actor that didn't seem to fit, and I couldn't even say why for me, was Lurch. But we didn't have enough of him to really worry about
What?
it.
No,
I
Lurch
didn't
was
like Lurch.
perfectly. Are you kidding?
That Lurch just didn't seem right. He didn't.
Lurch was
But we didn't get
like
enough
too
screen
cute.
time to really
yeah.
judge.
I was gonna say the Lurch had such small amount of screen time that I didn't have
He
time
didn't have
to
enough
develop
time to judge, but the few scenes just didn't seem right. I mean, that part is very Lurch, but he didn't groan as much as he normally did, and there's something about his face that didn't look right.
I mean, he was only on screen for about 20
15
seconds.
seconds, yeah, 15, 20
Yeah,
seconds.
I've gotta say, I thought he looked. If he didn't look like that, I feel like one, he was exactly like Lurch from the comics. Exactly like Lurch from the comics. Very tall and thin, and I don't know. He just he fit really well.
He didn't have that lumbering quality either. He didn't have that overall lumbering quality, but like I said, he didn't have a lot of screen time. But he was the least likely to me of anybody. Although Morticia wasn't fantastic
before we
either.
end this, I would like to talk about Hyde. I'm so sorry. I love that they made Hyde as a new monster in the animation style as the original comics.
Yeah. Oh, and the bug-eyed Hyde monster was pretty neat. He was like a bug-eyed, almost were creature. He was lycanthropic in ways, but not one of the wolves, not one of the howlers. He was lycanthropic, multi-personality, bug-eyed monster. Very bestial, very primal, but just a little goofy looking in the face, which fits the Charles Adams comic style. I thought that worked quite well. I also like the fact that Thing actually had some stitches and stuff in his hand. He wasn't a pristine hand. It was nice to see him with a few stitches and things.
I did definitely like though how much it was like to convince him to do something. I'll get you that hand lotion you like so much.
Yeah, and then talk about how vain he is.
Thing had so much
Personality.
Personality. Like
when he bowed.
He enjoyed manicures and like painting fingers and like just gossiping.
And when he bowed,
fan of just gossip.
When he bowed to Wednesday when she made the ultimatum, you felt like he was bowing.
So
and
the person they cast to play Thing, the
hand model, basically.
He'd never done any acting before. The person they got to play the hand never did the acting before, but he is like films and stuff. But he's a professional magician.
So he's good with hand motion.
That's why, yeah.
Well,
that helps explain why his hands are so
dexterous
and
his literal prestidigitation, which really means the maneuvering of your hands and fingers, is what the word prestidigitation actually means. And it's actually the skill of using your hands to perform magic. Visual magic is what prestidigitation means. But this guy was a prestidigitation actor. He actually used prestidigitation in the truest sense of the word to bring the character alive as just a hand.
You know what? I'm looking up a picture of Lurch from the show. And he's sitting down, so you can't get a good view of like how tall he is. But I do gotta say, maybe he's slightly too attractive for Lurch.
Yeah, he's a little bit off. He is. I wish we could get one with him standing next to somebody.
A prosthetic jutting brow set, and it'll fix everything.
Little bit of accented eyebrows or monobrow would have been nice.
Even just like a scar with permanent stitching or something on his cheekbone or something would. I
honestly think they didn't bother because he had such little screen time.
Yeah, it's probably because
picking up her Wednesday's stuff whenever she was kicked out
of
school.
You
only ever saw him from a side profile or his back.
There is a shot here of his face as he's driving, and it has the rest of the family in the back.
Right. But I'm saying most like he had such little screen time. During that moment, they probably didn't bother with makeup for him. And any other time he was seen on screen, you never really got a good look at his face.
And little touches like that are stuff they'll add if they do a season 2. If we get a season 2 of Wednesday, which I'm hoping we do, little touches like that will be the things that will bring it alive and make it even better. It is the third highest rated.
They don't get to see the job. Be surprised.
It is the third highest rated TV series on Netflix. For Netflix original.
I've seen some people wanting to criticize it, saying it's just basically Harry Potter with a dark theme or something like that. And I was like,
Not, I didn't get that feeling at all.
To be honest. I mean,
it's not even a little bit like that, actually.
That's a stretch. Oh my God, that's a stretch.
Yeah. I mean, all it is the only thing they have to compare it to that is that it's a school of.
It's a boarding school of supernatural.
Yeah, it's a boarding school of supernatural people, and apparently, if you're a boarding school of supernatural things, you're just Harry Potter.
It's closer, if anything, it's closer to Monster High.
I don't even think that we had like all of the times that we saw classes, no one was learning anything supernatural either.
Yeah. No, if anything, it's closer to Monster High.
Yeah.
If it was going to be compared to any of those things.
I made a post just recently about how if any new property comes out or any new movie or show or book comes out and it has any similarity at all to something else, people want to call it a ripoff.
And then it's not.
Is that what you were referencing? Was Wednesday?
It's not even about this. It was something. I was referencing the
other
Christmas
people's
criticism.
criticism.
Christmas, saying that it was just a ripoff of A Christmas Story.
No.
Like, why? Because it's a what?
Anyway,
they have a similar idea of someone telling a story about them wanting a gift as Christmas gift. That's a pretty basic premise.
Right. But yeah. Anyway, it's 10 o'clock, 10:01 actually. I think we've talked quite a bit about Wednesday. We are going to talk about both episodes of the finale of Stargirl next week. We will also start talking about Willow next week because I didn't even remind you guys to watch Willow at the end of last week when it was talking about what was coming out.
Yeah.
Although you probably did.
We
probably did. And it was great.
I am an episode behind on Stargirl, so I'm happy to put that off to next week because I can only watch Stargirl if I use my Xbox. If my Xbox was like packed up by the time the newest episode came out to take the Geekmas, and it hasn't been unpacked yet. I haven't had a chance to watch Stargirl yet.
You can't watch CW on anything else?
No, I can't watch it on the PlayStation's not plugged in either. But I can't watch it on just my TV without it. I mean, I guess I can watch it on my computer, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to, that's not so.
I mean, my Roku has the CW as one of the available channels I could put on it.
I don't have Roku, but I have a smart TV, and the CW app is not an app available for my TV.
Wow, that's
yeah, it's not mine either.
That sucks. Okay.
I've never owned a TV that had the CW app.
This is the first one I've had with the CW app.
Xbox was, I did have a Roku block for a little while, but then when I upgraded to a smart TV, I gave it away. And
something that I've noticed is the CW and HBO Max are my two least favorite streaming services. Just because they're not available on everything, and also playing them. Like if I wanted to listen, okay, not even watch. If I wanted to listen to a show I've already seen while I'm driving, just so I could think about it as it's playing. I can't do it on either of those apps because it doesn't work on fucking Bluetooth.
Yeah.
It's not only that, but CW and HBO Max are not available on all devices either. I've got a Android TV that doesn't have HBO Max on it.
See, that's the thing, because I can have a Bluetooth headset hooked up to my phone and run HBO Max, but and run HBO on my phone.
It's a very specific kind of Bluetooth that my car has, and every other app works with it except for HBO.
I know that I couldn't run CW on my PlayStation when I used to use my PlayStation on my TV.
Yeah.
So I had to install my CW
it's been
on my
changed
computer.
in the last few months. It's not available on PlayStation still.
Yeah. So, well, watch it this week. Watch both of them.
Yeah.
And we will be finishing up Stargirl Forever, sadly, until they possibly bring it back. We are getting word, though, from David Ramsey that they are moving even further forward with the new one that he's working on. It's getting some more forward movement.
Is it confirmed that it's Green Lantern? I can't remember.
No, the Justice U. The Justice U one is getting some more movement. He's been
Justice University or something.
Justice U, yeah, the one where he's Diggle, and he's taking some of these young trainees. They haven't confirmed who the trainees are, but it is him running basically a school for superheroes. That they're going to regular high school, but then he's also teaching them to be the next generation of superheroes.
Is he still the Guardian, whatever he was called?
He was Spartan on Arrow. Was the name of his character?
Yeah.
Was Spartan.
But this isn't the same John Diggle. This is a John Diggle of a different universe.
We're not sure because it's supposed to be the Arrowverse Diggle, but at the same time, since the Arrowverse is over, they may move this Diggle
I heard he
to
was Superman and Lois.
It might be the Superman and Lois now. By the time it comes out, they've been keeping that close to the chest, so we're not sure. Also, and Gotham Knights.
He never died. His character didn't die in the
for everything else.
I just mean if you can replace a character with someone else from another universe, which they constantly did in the CW shows,
then they can't die.
Pretty much meaningless. For
right.
viewers, that's meaningless.
Until the actor decides they're done, then yeah. Ollie is still dead. Ollie never came back. He died and he stayed permanently dead.
Right. But there's even a rumor that he might be showing up in the last season of Flash. There's a rumor that he might be back in Flash. So we don't know. Because he's also the Spectre.
Yeah.
He died and became the Spectre, so he could still come back as the Spectre somehow.
Well, there's also, the Flash has time travel and anything can happen in these shows.
And then there's the Legends. The Legends could always get him in another time stream and bring him over. So you don't know. Anyway.
I think the CW shows are dying.
Well, the CW verse itself is mostly over, the straight verse. Now we have the Superman and Lois verse, which is called the Superverse. And we don't know if Justice U and Gotham Knights are going to be part of the Superverse, part of the CW verse, or part of one of the alternative universes that, like Stargirl and Titans and Doom Patrol are each part of different verses. So we don't know. Anyway, we're 7 minutes over the hour. We're going to go ahead and end as close to on time as possible this week. Thank you to both of my hosts. It's always great to spend a Tuesday evening with you guys, especially fresh after Geekness when my geek level is at maximum. So it's great to live that geekness for another day, just a couple days later. We will catch you next week, where we will definitely be talking about the Video Game Awards. For sure, and in fact, a big part of next week will be the Video Game Awards. Then we will talk about Stargirl, we will talk about Willow, and I don't know if there's anything else pressing. We might mention something about the new Santa Claus series if we want to talk about it a little bit.
I'm not going to watch it, personally.
I've already seen them all, but I'm the only one. Okay.
I was kind of thinking about maybe watching it, and then I heard that within the first 20 minutes of the first episode, Santa Claus is complaining about people being politically correct or something like that. I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember.
Whatever it was, I was like, I don't know if I want to deal with that.
But anyway, we will definitely talk about Stargirl, and we will definitely talk about Willow and the Video Game Awards. We will also probably have something, at least a little bit, for Dungeons and Dragons or something else in the Nerdosphere. But those things are definitely on the docket next week. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Again, we will rebroadcast this on YouTube within the week at the Gamer Seuss YouTube channel. and tell your friends. I'm going to start doing some more shows on my channel too, so keep watching. And as always, remember, my site is completely dedicated to Extra Life, so half of everything I make financially on this site, off the top, rounded up, goes to Extra Life, which is part of the Children's Miracle Network. It's always good to give back the best you can, and kids are the ones going forward to be the new nerds, so we got to support them as much as possible. Thank you, everybody. Excelsior. Good night.
Peace out. Bye.
Yeah.